Okay, good afternoon viewers. This is your tutor CPA Charles Cafe, and today I wanted to take you through the economic environment, that is paper 3 level 1 CPA Uganda. And wanted you to allow me, I mute my video play so that you can concentrate on what I'm telling you. Hope I'm around. So today I wanted to talk about the theory of demand. That is one of the interesting topics in economic environment, and I wanted to start with it so that, because I know when you get to grasp this one, the other one of supply will be a bit very easy, because when you understand this, the other one will you just be doing a vice versa of what you've got from here. So without wasting more time, allow me kick off, and we are going to discuss more about this theory of demand, and we can start by defining what demand is. And we are saying demand refers to the quantity of goods and services consumers are able and willing to buy or purchase at the prevailing prices in a given period of time. These are the number of units consumers can buy at a given price in a given period of time. You know, with the time factor, we expect that price is supposed to be changing depending on the period because of some causes like inflation and others. So want to know if the prices they keep on changing, how many units or what are the quantities that the consumers are willing to take up and they are able to pay them, because there is someone being with a need that I need certain amount of, let's say certain quantity of item, but you find the person cannot ably pay the money those goods are costing. And one of the reasons why someone cannot be able to buy certain items, those are the reasons that affect the demand, as we are going to see them. So having understood what demand means, then you have to see the law of demand. The law of demand states that the higher the price, the lower the demand. When the prices increase, we expect consumers to demand less of a certain commodity because of the factors we are going to see. We said when the price is high, the level of demand is low, and when the prices are lower, we expect the demand to be high, but we keep other factors constant. So we keep the factors affecting demand constant other than the price. So as the law suggests, the higher the price, the lower the demand, and the lower the price, the higher the demand of the commodity, keeping other factors constant, or other factors remaining constant. And some of these assumptions we give that some of these factors should not change as the prices are changing. We have the level of distribution of income. We expect that the level of distribution of income should not change, should be constant, and the only factor that will be affecting demand, it will be the price. So we expect even the consumer's level of income to remain the same. These are some of the assumptions of the law of demand. When you have these assumptions active, then we expect that the law of demand should be affected by prices only. We are saying the population size should also remain unchanged or should remain constant. There shouldn't be population growth. We expect that people's tastes and preference should remain the same without changing, so that the theory can be applicable. We expect that also the level of advertisement shouldn't change. It should be the same all the time for this law to be applicable. But you may find that some certain things that this law assumes, you may find that they are not, they can't remain constant throughout a certain period of which they are trying to determine the demand of a certain items. So those are some of the factors that affect the law of demand, or that affect the demand of a certain product. When those assumptions they are not existing, we expect that also the demand is going to be affected. So allow me go to the demand schedule, and we are saying the demand schedule, it is just a table which shows the different prices and the corresponding quantities of products that consumers bought at a given price. So this is the table that shows different price levels and the corresponding quantities demanded of the commodity. That, as the law says, we expect that when the prices are low, more quantities or more units is going to be sold. As you see, when the price is 100 shillings, we expect that the quantity to be a bit high, and you are seeing the quantity is 80 units. So when the price goes to 200, we expect that the quantity demanded is supposed to reduce. As you are seeing, when the price increased by 100, quantity demanded reduced by 2 units. So when the price is increasing, you see even when the price reaches 400, you may find that the quantity has reduced. You may even find that people are not even totally, the quantity demanded is 0. It may reach that point because of other factors which affect demand. So allow me look at some of the types or the different types of demand schedule we have. The first one we have the individual demand schedule, and this is the type of a demand schedule or the table which shows different quantities of a commodity that is demanded at different prices. So we expect that those different quantities that are demanded at different prices by individuals or the individual households, we expect that what they demand as, let's say, for the single person, or the demand for one person, is what we call the individual demand schedule. What someone buys from the market, that's the individual demand schedule. You can call it a table, you can call it a list of the items someone is buying from the market at a given period of time at a given price. The second one, we can talk about the market demand schedule. The market demand schedule, as you hear the word is saying market, it means a market is a collection of items whereby you find there are so many people who are coming to buy whatever they want from that place. So this is a table which shows different totals of quantities demanded of the commodity at different price in the whole market or in the whole population. We expect that when you are computing the demand schedule, we sum up the individual demand schedules. Let's say for example, as we're seeing down here, we have a quantity demanded by John and quantity demanded by Nancy. You may see that at different prices, everyone is demanding or is buying different items. But if you want to get the demand schedule, it means we sum up the individual demand schedules per person. What John bought at a different price in the market and what Nancy bought from the market at different prices. Because we are seeing when the price is 100, John bought 8 units and Nancy bought 6 units. But here the scenario is, since it is also a demand, it is talking about demand, it means it has to be following the law of demand, whereby when the price is lower, we expect the quantity to be high. As you are seeing, when the price was 100, John bought 8 units and Nancy bought 6 units. As you compare, when the price increases by 100 and it becomes the 200, when it goes to 200, John, instead of buying more than what he bought at 100, he rather reduced the quantity he was purchasing from the market, and he bought 6 units and Nancy bought 4 units. It means that difference you are seeing is as a result of an increment in the price, because we are seeing the quantity demanded has reduced simply because the person doesn't want to acquire more units, but because the price has increased. And when you sum up, let's say for 100, when the price was 100, you sum up what John bought and what Nancy bought. John bought 8 plus 6, you come up to 14, which makes the demand, the market demand, or the total demand. That's how we get everything from there, and it must be following the law of demand. So when you're drawing it, you'll just be seeing that when the price is increasing, we expect the number of units to be reducing, as we are going to see. So let's look at the demand curve, how the demand curve looks like. Want to see how the demand curve looks like? We are saying a demand curve, this is the graphical representation of the demand schedule. What people bought from the market at different prices is what we really plot. We plot the prices at the y-axis and we plot the quantities at the x-axis, or the quantity demanded is always on the horizontal axis. So we expect that when you are when we expect, basing on the law of demand, that when the price is increasing, we expect the quantity to be reducing. So this forms a negative slope, or the demand curve starts to slope negatively, or from the demand curve starts to slope downwards. And how that happens, when you see that one happening, you just know that this demand is following the law of demand, that when the prices are increasing, we expect the quantity demanded to be reducing. As you are seeing here, when the price was OP or to P1, OP1, we had a quantity demanded of O2, which is a bit higher. But when the price increased, or when the price rose to OP2, the quantity rather reduced to OQ1. Meaning that when the price increases, we expect a reduction in the quantity demanded. So when you plot that curve, it will give you a negative slope, or it will be sloping downwards, corresponding to the law of demand. We say the demand curve has a negative slope, and it slopes downwards from left to the right. This is our left, this is our right. We expect that as the prices decreases, the quantity demanded should be increasing. As we are seeing, if the price reduces from P2 to P1, we expect that the quantity should also increase from Q1 to Q2. And that is what we call a demand curve. But it's supposed to be at that level when we keep the other factors that affect demand constant, as we said. So we have reasons why the demand curve is sloping negatively, or is sloping following the law of demand, for sloping downwards. We have reasons as to why the demand curve is sloping negatively, as we are going to see in the next slides. But for now, you should understand that when you are drawing the demand curve, it should be following that law of demand. And the other thing we have to be knowing is that when the law of demand is being executed, we expect that the other factors to remain constant. So allow me talk about some of the factors that affecting price, that affecting demand, other than price, because we have been talking about how price is affecting the demand of the commodities other than other factors. So allow me talk about the factors, the general factors that affect the demand of a commodity. We can start by providing what we have been looking at, as the first one is the price of the commodity. That's what we've been looking at from the start of our video. And we say that when the price of the commodity is high, the demand is automatically supposed to be lower, and when the prices are lower, the demand will be high, as we keep the other factors we are going to see constant. Because for the price of the commodity to to affect demand, these other factors, they are supposed to be at a constant rate, or when they are stationary, they are not changing. The other one we can talk about is population size. The population size, you can talk about it in terms of the market size, or the number of people who are willing to buy the items. The demand on an area with a high population will be high as compared to the demand where the population is low. When the number of people who are going to be buying the items, they are many, we expect them to be buying a lot of items from the market as compared to when the population or the number of people, they are very few, which may lead to a low demand of the quantity. So having understood that, we can talk about the next one, which is the consumer's level of income. This consumer's level of income, how it affects demand is in the sense that when people, let's say they are paid less salary, we expect for them not to be having enough disposable income which they can use to buy the goods. Because we are saying here that when the consumer's level of income is high, the demand will be high as the consumer's purchasing power will be also high. The consumer's purchasing power, we are talking about the amount of money someone remains with, or the net pay of someone which is available for consumption, or the portion of, let's say, the best the net pay of the person that is set aside to cater for the items or for the quantities that is supposed to be bought from the field or for the home consumption. So we expect that when the income levels is high, then automatically people will be having enough disposable income which they can use to buy more goods, which in the end will cause an increase in the quantity demanded of the product. But when the consumer's level of income when the consumer's level of income is low, we expect them not to be having enough disposable income, which will lead to a low demand. The fourth one, we can talk about level of advertisement. The level of advertisement, it affects the demand in a sense that when people, they don't know what the company is dealing in or what the company is selling, you expect them not to buy because they cannot buy something which they don't know. So when the company advertises its products, then the customers, they will come to know what the company is offering to them and is offering to them at what price, so that they can be able to buy whatever that has been advertised. So what we have here is that when the level of advertisement is high, we expect the demand to be also high as a result of continuous awareness of the products or the kind of products the company is dealing in. When the level of advertisement is low, then we expect the consumers not to be aware of the available products in the market, so that the demand will also be low. The fifth one, we can talk about the tastes and preferences. Tastes and preference is how people feel or test the items a company is providing to them. You may find that different people have different tastes on certain items. So when that happens, we expect that those goods which are highly favored or whose tastes to different people is good, we expect that their demand is going to be also high compared to those items with a low taste or preference by the public. So we can talk about, the example we can talk about is the demand for hijabs. The demand for them is high in Saudi Arabia as compared to the demand in USA, because there are so many Muslim or people who are interested in buying those hijabs in Saudi Arabia than in the US. So allow me proceed to the next slide, and we talk about the next factor which is affecting demand is the level of taxation. When you're talking about taxation, you give us a view in terms of the income tax, not the other VAT and others. We expect that when you're talking about, because here we are dealing in whatever the individuals they are doing. So in the sense of taxation, we are talking about the level of the income tax that is charged on the personnel or on the employees of a certain company. If, let's say, the income tax is a bit high, we will find that people are going to be left with a small disposable income, of which will cause a low demand, because they will not be having enough disposable income to buy certain items. Because for the fact that when they are charging you the income tax, there are also other statutory deductions which are charged on someone's salary, like the National Social Security Fund and others, those contributions which the employee is submitting to different organizations. So when someone is charged highly in terms of taxes, we expect that for them they are going to be left with a small disposable income, which will lead to a low demand. The other thing we can talk about, the prices of the substitutes. We are talking about the price of the substitutes in the sense that these substitutes, those are the items or those are the goods which one can use instead of the other. If, let's say, someone wanted to buy, let's say, beans, and you find that the price for beans has increased, but for the other substitute, let's say for the peas, their prices has remained constant, we expect that someone will just leave buying beans and goes for peas, because those items, they serve almost similar purpose, or they do exactly what the other one does. If let's say someone finds that the price for, let's say for Coca-Cola, for a bottle of Coca-Cola has increased, someone will just opt to go with the bottle of Pepsi Cola, which you may find that the price for it has not changed. So this one affects the demand of products in a sense that if the price of the substitutes increase, then demand for that demand of the good will also decrease. And when the price of the substitutes decrease, the demand of the good in the question will be high. Here we are talking about, we are giving it in a scenario whereby the price of, let's say, Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola, let's say if the main product was Coca-Cola, what we wanted to consume at the time, and we reach in the market, we find that the price, let's say for Pepsi Cola, has increased. It was even, let's say it was the substitute, and you find that the price for it has increased. Someone will just opt to buy more of Coca-Cola and forget about the Pepsi Cola, which has an increment in the price. So that's it. That's all about the price of the substitutes. The other one we can talk about is the price of the complements, or the jointly demanded goods. These complements, those are the goods which are consumed at the same time, or those are the goods where the satisfaction is derived at the same time. If let's say someone buys a car, you expect that that person is supposed to be buying, let's say, petrol for the car to move. So if the price of, let's say, the cars increases, we expect that people, they demand less of petrol because the price of the main product has increased. So we expect them not to buy. When they are not buying cars, of course we expect that the price, the quantity that is consumed for petrol will also be less. The other one, you can talk about the price, let's say, of sugar and tea and tea leaves, those ones which go, or which work hand in hand with each other in terms of satisfying the customer's need. We expect that when the price of these goods, let's say if the price of the complement is high, the demand of the good in the question will be low because they are not consuming the main product. So the last point we can talk about is the season factor. The season factor comes in as a result of some goods. Let's say some goods are produced at different seasons. Let's say Christmas periods. You find that people who are selling Christmas gifts, they make more money as when it is time for Christmas periods, and when the Christmas period is done, we expect that the demand for those Christmas gifts will be low. So the seasonal factor comes in especially for those goods which are demanded during certain seasons, and it's most especially that one is in terms of the agricultural output. We expect that when it is a rainy season, people are planting, but when it is in the dry season, we expect them not to be doing anything because we expect that they cannot grow something where the rain is not there. And that one can be also solved. There are some modernization whereby they have modernized the farming, and now people can do irrigations and other things. So when you're talking about this seasonal factor and you are giving in the agricultural part, make sure you are giving us the traditional way whereby people are planting crops on the basis of, let's say, during the rainy season, because things have changed nowadays because of technology. People are doing the irrigation and others. So those are some of the factors that affect the demand, and there are many you can research about and you add more, but at least for this level it is very hard for sure to get a question where they can ask you that you give like 20. It is hard. So those may be enough. You can add others like let's say the level of raw materials that is available or the resources available. You may find that yes, people they are demanding the materials, but the raw materials themselves, they are not there to be used for making other final products which the clients may want. So you give as many as you can, because you know when you're explaining, but make sure when you're explaining something, you make sure you don't just be saying a high and a low. A high, let's say if the income tax is high, we expect that the demand to be high and you stop there. No, you have to at least give a reason. If the taxes are high, then we expect the demand to be low, but what causes that? You put that people are not going to be buying because the disposable income has reduced. But if you are just putting that the level, when the taxes are high, we expect the demand to be low, then you stop there. No, it's not, because you are not giving us the reason why the demand is reducing. You make sure when you are giving a point, you make sure you are giving it in a sense when, let's say, the demand is low and when the demand is high, and what causes that, depending, which is a backup for the answer you've given. Like for the tax, you can say that the disposable income is going to be reduced, and that's how you give the points, not just stating as in per the law of demand and you stop there. You give a reason. So I said earlier that there are some of the reasons which may cause the demand curve to be sloping downwards. As we said, as per the law of demand, we are saying that the quantities, they are going to be high as when the prices have reduced, and that is the general thing which we all base on in as far as demand is concerned. These factors we've given up, if you know how to rephrase some of them, you can use them directly and you put them here, if you know how to rephrase them. But let me give you the general answers. At least I can give you like 5, then you can add more on your own depending on how you've understood the concept. The first reason, we can talk about the price effect. The other side we say the price of the commodity. Here we are talking also about the price of the commodity. But how do price affect, or how do prices affect the demand, in a sense that they are affecting it in the basis of the law of demand, or in regards for the law of demand, or the negative, or the downward sloping, or the negative slope of the demand curve. Price effect, we are saying that a reduction or reduced prices brings in more customers as a result of demand increase. Demand increases. When the price of the commodities have reduced, we expect that even those people who are not capable of buying the items will come back and start to buy the items. if let's say the price, let's say for certain commodities has increased, you expect some people to leave the consumption of certain items to some extent, and they say, no, you know what, these items, let's give it a break, we shall resume when the prices goes down. So by the time the price reduces, we expect that more customers are going to come in as a result of the fall in prices. So as when that happens, we expect that the demand is going also to increase. And on the other side, when the price increases, more customers, they are going to stop the consumption, or they are going to be consuming the item, but they reduce on the quantity they have been purchasing. When they reduce the quantity they are purchasing, we are expecting that the demand is also going to be low. When the demand is low, we expect that that factor is going to be influencing, or is going to be causing the demand curve to be sloping in a negative way. So the second factor or reason we can talk about that affect or that can lead to the demand curve to slope negatively or downwards is the real income effects. Real income effects, we are talking about it in a sense that if, let's say, someone had 10,000 shillings and you wanted to buy, let's say, a book, and the book is costing, let's say, 5,000. If the book is costing 5,000, but the amount you have only 10,000 in the pocket, that is your real income, the value you have now as per the time you are going to buy the books. And you reach in the market, you find that the price for the books has reduced. If the price of the books has reduced and each book, instead of costing 5,000, it is now costing 4,000 or 2,500, if it is costing, let's say, 2,500, we will assume that when you go to the market and let's say you wanted to buy, let's say, 2 books, when the price was high, you were expected to buy only 2 books in the 10,000 you had. But if you go in the market and you find that the price has reduced, let's say, to 2,500, we expect that you will come back with more books because of the price. Because instead of paying, when you pay the 5,000, they will be giving you 2 books. Instead, at the point where the price was 5,000 and you are taking only 1 book. So when the price when the price reduces, we expect that even the real income you have is going to be increasing in value, to the sense that instead of spending, let's say, 5,000 on one item, you will be spending 5,000 and you buy more item. That is how we explain the real income effect. It is not in the sense that the income is increasing in value, but the income is, we are comparing the income in terms of buying, in terms of the buying power of the quantities we are going to buy depend on the price of those items we are buying. That's how we explain the real income effect. The third one, we can talk about the law of marginal utility. This one we shall talk about it later, and we'll draw some of the diagram and representing the total utility, marginal utility, and everything. But as for now, allow me explain something small so that you get to know the concept when we try to explain it further in the preceding videos. The law of diminishing marginal utility states that as more and more units of a commodity is consumed, the additional satisfaction goes on decreasing, therefore making more units of the commodity will be purchased only if the price is falling. This means that when someone is consuming, let's say, a certain item, someone is consuming food, we expect that as the person demands the commodity, or as the person is eating the food, we expect that that person will reach at a certain level of satisfaction, and he feels he cannot eat more of the food, even if the food is sweeter than whatever he thought. When the person reaches that point, we expect that there is no more satisfaction the person is going to get in the consumption of an additional output or of an additional food. So the law of demand comes in the sense that as the person, when the person has reached that total utility, the person is already satisfied. The other units the person is getting, or the other consumption that is above that total utility, is that the person will not be getting anything, or will not get satisfied anymore in the additional items the person is going to be consuming. So the person will only prefer to exceed, if you want the person to exceed a certain level, to exceed the satisfaction, then you will have to reduce the price of those items you are giving to him. If, let's say, someone has been consuming items, let's say beer, and the person has been taking beer for, let's say, 5,000 per bottle. If it is 5,000 per bottle, we expect that when the person reaches the maximum satisfaction, the other number of beers that someone can buy, he will only tell you that I'm paying, maybe if you are telling me to pay less than the 5,000 I've been paying per beer, then I can add more. But whatever I'm adding on doesn't add any value, because I'm already at the climax. That's how we can talk about that in for now. But we, as I said, we will have their graphs and all the effect, all the other effects, as we shall see in the next videos. The other factor we can talk about, the substitution effect. This substitution effect is in as a regard of the substitutes themselves. With the decrease in the price of the commodities, now we are talking about the main product. If the person, let's say, has been consuming Coca-Cola as the main product, so when there is a decrease in the price of the commodity and the price of the substitutes remain the same, consumers buy more of this commodity whose price has decreased, rather than the substitutes whose price have remained the same, which increases the demand, and vice versa. When we say vice versa, don't just give it in the question like that. You explain the other way around. When the price increases of a commodity and that of the substitute, let's say, remains constant, we expect that consumers, they will buy more of the substitute than the main product. If, let's say, the main product was Coca-Cola, and someone buys, you got to the market to buy, and you reach there, the price of Coca-Cola is reducing, but that one of its substitute, which is Pepsi-Cola, has remained constant, has not reduced. We expect that the person will buy more of Coca-Cola than Pepsi-Cola, because Pepsi-Cola has a less price. The person will be paying less money. On the other hand, on contrary, when the price, let's say the price for Coca-Cola increases, which was the main product, when the price of Coca-Cola increases and that of, let's say, Pepsi-Cola stays constant, the person will leave now Coca-Cola and be consuming the Pepsi-Cola, whose price has remained stable at that particular time. That is the vice versa we are talking about. That's how I can go about the substitution effect. Allow me proceed to the behaviors of low income groups. The behavior of low income groups, we are talking about the low income earners, the people who are earning less. When the price of the commodity reduces and new buyers join by buying those commodities which they couldn't afford before, it will cause an increase in the demand. On the other hand, when the price of the commodity increases, some old customers may stop to buy the commodity and hence a fall in demand. You can give it in the other way, that when the price of the commodities is, let's say, high, since these people, they have a less disposable income, we expect that for them they will completely leave the consumption of the item, or if the items are important, they may reduce on their consumption and they start buying less. And when they buy less, you expect that even the demand is going to be low, which is supporting the negative sloping of the demand curve. The last one, we can talk about the number of uses of the commodity. Now this number of uses, not users, we are talking number of uses of the commodity. The people who are using the commodity, if let's say a product, you may find that the number of uses of the commodities, we are meaning what the product can give to people. If that product can be used for so many purposes, then we assume that when the price of that item increases, we expect that some people, instead of using that item for so many things, they will be concentrating on the priorities, what that product can give as a priority to them, and leave these other ones because the price has increased. But when the price reduces, they will even go back and use that product for other things. You know, when they use the product for other things, even the rate of consumption is going to be high, which is the demand. So in this case, you can talk about, let's say, electricity. If someone is using electricity for ironing, for cooking, for lighting, and you find that the price of electricity has increased. So when the price of the electricity increases, someone will drop some uses, that let's concentrate more on lighting part of the product of the electricity. We use at least electricity for lighting, and we leave using electricity for cooking and ironing. So when they leave, the demand is reducing. But when the price of electricity reduces, they will come back and say, you know what, let's use this electricity for even lighting, cooking and ironing. By the time they use all that electricity for all of those things, you should also understand that even the rate at which they are consuming the electricity is going to be high, which makes them to buy more units or more kilowatts of electricity, and that supports the negative slope of the demand curve. So allow me go to the next one. The next one, we are going to talk about the change in the quantity demanded and change in demand. There are two items and we want to find a difference between the two. A change in quantity, most of the times when they set this question, they ask for the difference. Differentiate between the change in quantity demanded and the change in demand. When you are giving these answers, you make sure you look at the marks. If let's say they have given the marks and they have given, let's say, 8 marks, you don't just stop at defining them. You go ahead and draw an illustration to show what you are really explaining. When they have given, let's say, 2 marks, from there you can just give a definition of each and you leave. But when you compare and you see the marks they have put, they are more, you go ahead and draw an illustration. Change in quantity demanded, this means an increase or decrease in quantity demanded due to change in the price of the commodity. Then we also keep other factors constant because it is demand, it is following the law of demand. This means the increase, we are giving it is a two-way because it is a change. It means a change is either increasing or reducing. So when you are defining, you make sure there is increase or decrease in the quantity demanded. And what causes the quantity to increase or reduce is because of the change also in the prices of that commodity, keeping other factors constant. Then we illustrate it. Its illustration is that it is shown by an increase or decrease or a movement along the same demand curve. There is a movement between the equilibrium point and the actual demand of the commodity. It is illustrated through the movement along the same demand curve through extension, meaning it means an expansion, that is the increase in quantity. But here, remember, we are talking about quantity. It is quantity which is changing as a result of the price. So it is after the price has increased, then we expect the quantity to, let's say, reduce also. We are saying in the extension and the contraction. Contraction, it means something reducing. When it is reducing, then it is called a decrease in the quantity demanded. So we said it is illustrated at just using the slope or it is just along the slope or the demand curve. So let me try to explain something here. When you, having drawn our x-axis and the y-axis, then the vertical axis has the price and the horizontal one has the quantity demanded of the commodity. So we expect, if let's say this was our equilibrium point. Equilibrium point is the point where the quantity, the price is okay, or the price is equating to the quantity that is demanded. If let's say the goods are increasing, but they are increasing at the same rate with the price, that is the equilibrium point. Where they meet, where those two meet is what forms the equilibrium point. So if let's say our price, the normal price was P2, we expect that if the prices increases from P2 to P1, then we expect the quantity that is supposed to be demanded to reduce from Q2 to Q1. And that means when the quantity, because we are talking about the quantity, change in quantity demanded, when the quantity reduces from Q2 to Q1, then we expect to be having a decrease in quantity demanded, which is shown by an upward movement along the same demand curve. Meaning an upward movement is representing a contraction in, or a decrease or a reduction in the quantity demanded. But that reduction was as a result of the price increasing from our normal price to the, that is the equilibrium price, to the a higher price. Alternatively, if the price reduces from our normal or our equilibrium price from OP1, OP2 to OP3, we expect that the quantity is going to increase. Is increasing because the prices has reduced, so more people are joining the market to buy those items. So when they are buying those items, we expect that the quantity is going to increase from Q2 to Q3, which is represented by the increase in the quantity demanded, and it is represented by a downward sloping curve or line along the same demand curve. I hope that one is very clear. Let's go to the change in demand. Change in demand, this means an increase or decrease in the demand due to changes in other factors affecting demand apart from price. The other side, in quantity demanded, we are talking about the changes. The cause is as a result of the change in the price. But for the change in demand, we expect that the price should be constant. It will be other factors that will be affecting the demand of the commodity. And we have an increase or a decrease in the demand. So it is illustrated through the shift in the demand curves, either to the right. If it is going to the right, it means, if it is moving from the equilibrium point to the right, it means there is an increase in demand. And if it is moving from the equilibrium point to the left, it means there is a decrease in demand. But these decreases or the increases, they are caused by other factors other than price. So we are saying here we are making the price to be constant. When we make the price to be constant, it means that price is not changing, but it is only the demand which changes as a result of other factors which affect the demand, as we spoke about them. So at a constant price, we expect, if let's say the D1 is our normal demand, our normal demand is D1, when the other factors were okay, and this point becomes our equilibrium point. So we expect, if the other factors they keep changing, we expect the demand to move to the left, and we said moving to the left, it is a decrease in demand or a contraction. A decrease in demand, it means this quantity, if the other factors are influencing the demand, we expect that the quantity which was OQ2 will reduce to OQ1. When there is that reduction, we expect that this quantity, let me put an arrow, you'll be seeing it clearly that we are moving to that point. When you are moving to that point, it means there is a reduction in demand. Actually, this one is supposed to be demand, not quantity. There is a reduction in demand. This one I said is supposed to be demand. A decrease in demand. So when the output is increasing, but it is increasing at a constant price. We said if the quantity is increasing as a result of other factors are influencing the demand for the commodity, we expect that we shall be having an increase in demand. I hope you've got that. Allow me proceed to, because as we said, these changes in quantities demanded and change in the demand itself, we expect that they must be influenced by other factors, and these factors which cause the demand to change, we said those are the very factors which influence the demand itself. So if it is just a change, when there is just a change, we expect that we are supposed, on the other factors we said, if let's say it was the factor which is affecting demand, let's say it is taste and preference, we expect that what will cause a change, it will be a change in the taste and preference. So that will be the only thing you will be adding there. So we see the reasons which cause a change in demand. I've given a few, but I know you can explain the things on your own, but I'll give you a highlight. Like, let's say if we talk about what causes a change in demand, is that what causes either increase or a decrease. But in the examinations, most of the times they may ask what are the reasons that cause, let's say, an increase in demand. When they specify, it means these answers we've given, we are not going to be talking about them in general, like the way we spoke about them. We are just going to be talking about, let's say, for if they ask what causes an increase in demand, we shall be saying an increase in the level of consumers' income, meaning we are being specific. These points we are giving, even for the reasons that cause a change in demand, they are in a general. You can talk about the change in the consumer's level of income. That is a general point, meaning there is either an increase or a decrease. So most of the questions that come in the examination, they are asking about one point, whereby it needs you to rephrase the same points and give the explanation according to what they have asked. Here we are saying the change in the consumer's level of income. When the consumer's income levels increase, then the demand will also increase, because the purchasing power will be high. I said you don't stop from giving the scenario in accordance with the law of demand, but you also give the exact reason what causes that. As for the income, the level of income, we are saying when the consumer's level of income increases, then the demand will increase. Why? Because there will be an increase in the purchasing power of the people, or for the employees or consumers. Then you talk about on the other side, where the level of income reduces. When it reduces, then the demand also will reduce. Why? Because the purchasing ability or the purchasing power of the consumers will be low. That's how you'll get a full mark. It is the same way you're going to explain the change in population, the change in direct taxes. You will be comparing the same factors we used for demand, but instead you are just adding a change in direct taxes. Because when there is a change in direct taxes, those are taxes we charge on personal income. We are charging them, those are the income taxes we charge on the, let's say, on the salaries of individuals. So when we directly remove money from, well, we remove the taxes from their money, we are reducing the disposable income, the amount that is supposed to be remaining for the individuals to use will be reduced. And when it is reduced, you just know even that their purchasing power will be low, so that causes a demand to be also low. But when you are giving, make sure you give a scenario whereby if there is an increment, then it will impact the demand this way. Then you talk about why is it impacting the demand like that. I hope you have got what I'm talking about. Then let me talk about something here. It is a bit contrary to what we've been looking at as demand. We've been talking about demand as in a concept whereby when the prices are increasing, then the quantity demanded is reducing. But here we are going to be talking about the abnormal demand curve. This abnormal demand curve, for it violates the law of demand, in the sense that for them, even when the prices are increasing, the quantity is also increasing. That's what we mean. That even when the prices are low, instead of the demand increasing, it will rather be reducing. We are going to see what are some of the situations or what causes this, that the law of demand is violated or is not applicable. There are some reasons why the demand will be violated, and this abnormal demand, actually it is applicable. The other thing you can talk about them in the applicability. If we talk about the reasons for abnormal demand curve, it is the same way like we talk about the applicability of the abnormal demand curve. We say the abnormal demand curve is the demand curve which violates the law of demand. It violates it in a way that for it, instead of having a negative slope or a downward slope, for it has an upward slope, or a positive demand, or a positive slope, whereby when the prices are increasing, the quantity demanded is also increasing. That's what we mean. It is called the abnormal demand or a regressive demand. There are some of the reasons why we may be having that curve. For it will be sloping like a supply curve. It will be behaving in a supply curve, whereby when the prices are increasing, we expect it to also to be increasing. We can have something here. It will be like this. When it is going like this, meaning we shall be having our prices, our quantities here, our prices here, it will be going like this. Instead of going in the normal way the demand curve was moving like this, it will be going the other way around. That's what we mean. So if the demand curve is sloping like that, you just know that is a regressive demand curve. That's what they are talking about. So there are some of the things we can talk about, and one of them we have goods of ostentation. Goods of ostentation, those are luxury goods. Those the reason why people buy those luxuries is because they want to show their economic status or how well they are. So they buy those are the expensive goods people buy. For them, it is a matter of something being expensive. People buy those items because they are expensive. You can talk about the expensive phones, you can talk about expensive cars and others. It happens that when the prices of those goods are increasing, people tend to buy more of them. Why? Because they want to show their economic status or how well they are. So when the price is increasing, the demand is increasing, which violates the law of demand, which qualifies that point to be under the abnormal demand curve. The other point, we can talk about the giffen goods. Giffen goods, those are the inferior goods, or those are the goods which are consumed by poor people. You may find that you can talk about, let's say, the maize flour. Someone is buying maize flour. That's an example of an inferior good. For these goods, when the price increases, more of it is bought, and when the price is reducing, they buy less of them. Why? Is because when they see the price is increasing, it means since they are poor, they are earning less, they cannot afford to buy other items. So even if the prices are increasing, for them, they will be continuing to buy them because that's what they will be affording. They will be ignoring buying other goods. Let's say they can ignore buying meat and they buy the maize flour even if the price is increasing. Reason, because that's what they can afford. They will just be reducing on the consumption of the other goods, and they concentrate, or they buy more of that commodity. And when the worst part is when the price is reducing of those, let's say, maize flour, those people, instead of buying it more, they leave the product and they say we can't buy those things, they are cheap, and they start buying, let's say, meat, because they will be having enough disposable income since the price is reducing. That qualifies that point to be under the abnormal demand curve. The third one, we can talk about fear of future rise in prices. When customers are expecting that the price is going to increase, it may be as a result of, if let's say there are shortages, if let's say the producers are holding certain items to increase the price, customers may tend to buy more of the item even if the price is high at the present time, and the reason why they are doing it is because they expect the price to increase more further. So when the price is high now and they are expecting the price to increase further, they tend to buy more items on the prevailing high prices because they are fearing to buy those goods when the price is higher. The second last, we can talk about necessities. Necessities, those are the essential goods, or the goods whereby someone cannot live without. You can talk about food, salt, clothing, and others. So when these goods, even if their price is increasing, people will be buying them. Not because they want, but it is a must, they have to be buying them. But there is also a scenario that yes, those goods, they may be increasing in price, and people are supposed to be buying it, but you may find that its consumption, maybe people will buy less. They will be buying at not a very huge amount. They buy minimum what they can use, but The point is they are really buying it, because even if the price has increased, they have to buy it. Whether they are buying it, they are buying less items, it is okay, but the point stands that they buy them even if the price is increasing. The last one, we can talk about the ignorance of the customers. Some customers, for them, they don't even know that there are other places, or there are other places where they can buy those items at a cheaper price. When they don't really know, let's say, the prevailing market situations, people tend to buy goods even if they are expensive, because they are not aware that there are sources where they can buy those things at a cheap price. So having known those, you can add on, if you have, you can do more research and you add some points, but as per this level, we expect that no one is going to ask you something beyond 10. No one is going to ask you that. So let's look at something which I think will be the last for this video. We are going to talk about the different types of demand curves, or the different types of demand. We can talk about the interrelated, how demand curves are interrelated, or how are they related to each other. That's how, if let's say you want to buy a certain commodity, how is the commodity you are buying related to others? Is there any relationship, or there isn't the relationship which is uniting those two items someone is buying? So the first one, we can talk about the joint demand. This is the demand for two or more commodities which are jointly needed to satisfy a particular need. Those items that, if one is buying one, is supposed to buy the other. They go interchangeably. When you are using, you are just using them at the same time. If you are buying, let's say someone is buying let's say sugar, we expect to go with the tea leaves. It's not a must, but at least we expect that those items are going together. If someone is buying a car, we expect you to be buying, let's say, petrol or diesel, because there is no way you can use the item you are buying without buying the other one. If someone is buying, let's say, motor, we expect the person to buy a peso, because there is no way you can use that motor without a peso. Those are the things we see in the joint demand, that those are the items you demand for, let's say, two or more items which are needed to satisfy a particular need. If, let's say, the main objective is going to do something, if, let's say, you are going to take tea, we expect to be having, let's say, tea leaves and whatever. So that's all about the joint demand. We can talk about it in a sense that an increase in demand of one will result into an increase in demand for the other, and a decrease in demand for one results into a decrease in demand for the other. That's a joint demand. The second type of demand, you have a competitive demand. This refers to the demand for goods which are substitute to each other. They are competitive in the sense that when the price of the other one increases, the other one is not demanded. If its price also, let's say, increases too. They are competitive in a sense that they serve the same purpose. So increase in demand of one will result into a decrease in demand of the other, because you can't use them at once. You can't be buying Coca-Cola and at the same time you buy Pepsi-Cola, because we expect that they are doing the same things. You buy peas and beans, it will be a wastage because those items, they are doing the same things. So the third one, we can talk about a composite demand. This refers to the demand for commodities which can be used for several purposes. As we said, that for those goods which serve many uses, we can talk about electricity, we talked about water, you can use water for bathing, for washing and everything. So demand for those goods which have so many purposes, that is a composite demand. Then the last one is a derived demand. This refers to demand for commodities which are used in the production of other goods. The demand of those items which can be used in the production of other items. You can talk about the demand for factors of production. In these factors of production, you can talk about labor, because we know that the demand for labor is always a derived demand. Why? Because we demand for labor to do to do certain activities that they are supposed to be doing, or to produce certain output. So it is derived in the sense that when you demand an item, you expect to use that item to produce another item. So that's all for today, and I hope you guys you've benefited, and you can continue asking whatever you have not understood. You can send an email, then we see how we can try to clarify more on whatever you've not understood. Make sure if you don't understand, you can put a comment in the comment section below, so that we can get to help you out. Thank you and bye for now.